Dear friends, a very good evening to you all and welcome to Matchday Live as Manchester City welcome Leeds United to the Etihad Stadium for another Premier League fixture. Of course, we're getting into the season now where games come thick and fast. And how about this for a run we're going to try and extend tonight? Manchester City have not lost on a Tuesday night in the Premier League since 1993. Standing in the way of that, though, as I said, is Leeds United. That is some stat, by the way. Leeds are the visitors. Of course, if you remember, they beat us last season here in a quick smash and grab. We'll be hoping that doesn't happen again. They sit in 16th place with 16 points. We'll be hoping another 3 points will keep us top of the table. We're bringing you team news in just a second, and you may have just seen their familiar face in Wilson Esbrand. A couple of other young players make the bench, along, of course, with Cole Palmer and CJ Egan-Riley. I'll bring you the starting 11 in just a moment, but first let me introduce myself. My name is Kel Spellman. Welcome to Matchday Live. I'll be your host, and we have got 2 doses of Shaun for you tonight in the studio in the form of Shaun Wright-Phillips and Shaun Goater. Gents, so great to be with you. I mean, we were just talking about that stat before. You all guys will have been included in that stat. They never lost on a Tuesday night in the Premier League, Shaun.
I can't remember, but I remember back then it was a very up and down, like a roller coaster. I know it was to the fans, and it definitely was for us as well. So, to be honest, it did surprise me.
I'm all over that stat.
Did you get it, Shaun?
No, I didn't, because I thought I lost enough times. So I'm all over that. Thanks for pulling out that stat, by the way.
Yeah, there we go. Well, you did well on the Tuesday nights in the Premier League. But we're hoping it continues tonight. And, of course, Matchday Live is the first place you can get team news. Not just that, you get that brilliant insight, of course, from our club legends. And I can bring you our starting 11 now, as chosen by Pep Guardiola. It looks like this. Fresh from his 100th clean sheet for Manchester City, Ederson starts in goal. Now, we'll be getting into the formation in just a second. So the defenders on the pitch are Zinchenko, Laporte, Diaz and Stones. We think in the middle, Rodri, of course, will be there. Kevin De Bruyne and, of course, Bernardo Silva, what season he's having. And it is a forward 3 where they'll play along the 3. I'll be asking my esteemed guests in just a second in the form of Jack Grealish, Riyad Mahrez and Phil Foden. As we look to our bench, of course, Zach Stefan is on there. Nathan Ake. Raheem Sterling drops to the bench. Mahrez has come in for him. Gundogan's on there. Gabriel Jesus. Fernandinho. And there are them young boys again. CJ Egan-Riley. Cole Palmer. And Jason Wilson Esbrand. So, gents, of course, as we know, Leeds love to play very open, very expansively. Let's begin right at the back, because are we thinking a back 3 of 3 central defenders, or are we thinking a back 4? Shaun, I'll begin with you. How can you see this one lining up today on the pitch?
Well, yeah, Shaun and I were just having a chat sort of, just a little earlier and thinking, wow, what will it be? City, some from the inside stuff that I know in terms of learning the DNA of the club, I think it'll be the 3 centre-backs in Stones, Diaz, Laporte, and I think Zinchenko actually play inside alongside Rodri. So I think he'll push inside and creating a box, what they call a 3-box-3. So Zinchenko, Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva will create that box, if you like, in the midfield. And the front 3, I'm thinking, what you thinking, Shaun? What you thinking of the front 3?
Grealish is definitely, for me, Grealish would definitely be down the middle. Foden left and Mahrez in his usual position on the right. I think there won't be too much change on paper, but you know how the players up the top that play with City, there will always a lot of inter-rotation and freedom and moving around, which will always happen.
Of course, when the season started, it was more kind of, Grealish was always on the left. Do you think he's better suited to be playing down the middle, Shaun, then? Do you think that's where we get the best out of him?
I wouldn't necessarily say you get the best out of him there. I think Pep's just obviously seen something. Foden's obviously just come back from injury, but before his injury, he was in fine form, playing down the left, and he was causing all sorts of problems. And Mahrez, we all know what he does on the right. And I think Grealish has played pretty decent up front, but I think where they are on paper doesn't matter, because they never really stay there anyway. They just make it impossible for defenders to mark them, which is the great thing, because most of the time you'll see in the game that there'll be times where all 4 defenders ain't even marking a City player because they've come way too deep.
Yeah.
So it's one of those.
It becomes irrelevant, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just a quick word on Grealish, because Pep was speaking about him in his pre-match conference. I think he's actually been brilliant since we've signed him. And I know maybe some people are saying different outside of the club, but he just seems to just need that goal, Shaun, doesn't he? He's been really trying. He was very unlucky. I think Pep even said he could have had a hat-trick in the game against Wolves at one point. A couple of other times as well. Just not quite falling for him. It feels if it does, it could really unlock the door and we'll see lots of goals.
I think that's exactly the case. I think something I've been intrigued to watch is the pressing side of Grealish's game, because when I went through a spell of not scoring goals, and he's not a forward, he's a wide player essentially, but when I was going through a spell of not scoring goals, my thoughts were, well, can I help the team to win the ball? Because then I'm able to contribute something that's really effective. And I think if he's got his press game on, then, I've heard, there's a saying, the press is as well as a number 10, because basically you win the ball in the final third. It's only one pass and someone's in. So I think if he's able to, along with his quality game, offer press, then that is something that could also trigger him, because when you're not playing well and you go and win a ball, that ignites you to go, I'm playing an important part. I've actually won the ball, slipped the play in, and they've scored. And so that also gets your game going. But I agree 100%. I think if he gets that goal, I think we could start seeing Grealish getting on the score sheet a lot more.
Look into the back half of the pitch, because I really want to get into this 3-box-3 as you described it, Shaun. I can actually bring you some news as well. Unfortunately, Kyle Walker is ill, so that's why that's a name that you won't see on the bench, and you won't see Cancelo's name on the bench because he is suspended for a game. I think he's picked up those 5 yellow cards, which means that he won't be in today's matchday squad. So we were thinking the 3 centre-halves, Shaun, and saying Zinchenko kind of more partnering Rodri as a 2. Does that not leave the wings exposed, though? For us, we know Leeds love to kind of get down the wings with their fullbacks. We have got Rafinha as well who can penetrate there. Does that not leave space there if we don't have 2 fullbacks?
Effectively, if you say it like that, yes, Cal, it will leave. It will leave like space down there. But no, they won't. What Goltz is trying to say is when they start, they will be in that 4. But as soon as the game's moving and in possession and out of possession of the ball, then they will be in different positions just to counteract Leeds. But I think if Leeds have the ball, Zinchenko will be wide left back, and I think Stones will be right back.
Right, okay.
But when we're attacking, to stop the counter-attack, they can afford to come in, because the Leeds wingers are not allowed to cheat. They don't cheat. Bielsa won't accept it. So they will go back and try and double up. So then the fullbacks effectively have time to still get back out into their positions. And that's the way I kind of see it.
Yeah. Well, Sean's exactly right. But part of also why, say, Zinchenko would come inside, or he'll ask a fullback to come inside, is because if the ball is on that side, it allows us to press. City have this thing about 5 phases. Once playing, building up, playing through, creative and finalization, but then it's press and then defending the goal. So the press is an immediate thing of, once we've lost it, can we press and win it back? And then after that, you'll find City just really defend the goal. Some teams will probably have another part in there where it's a mid-block. So they try to defend it sort of midway in the pitch, but you'll find City, it's partly because of the way City play as well. We either got a team in their defensive third, and then they're trying to counterattack. So it is really then we just retreat to protect the goal. But it's essentially, if the ball is on the left-hand side, Zinchenko will be tucked in, because it's about pressing that area, and it's not about the space in the right-back position, because if the ball can't get there, why are we worried about that?
Yes.
And so that's the thinking behind that. It's if we can win the ball where it is on the left-hand side, then we don't have to worry about a free player that's, behind Stones if Stones is right back, so to speak. We
mentioned it at the top of the show, of course. I think the game against Leeds last season will linger in the memory, just because it definitely felt one of those where, City were a little bit unjust to not come away with 3 points, a bit of a smash and grab from Leeds. What will they have to do today, Shaun, to make sure that doesn't happen again today? And who will be key in doing that?
I think, first of all, we all have to remember that Leeds might still play the same way as they played last year, but they are missing 4 key players, and without those key players, that system won't work as effectively. For me personally, that is my opinion, but we still have to have our wits about us. And for me, over the last 2 years, since Diaz has come in and Stones is back to what we know him in, that we haven't really been counter-attack that badly. Like, we've been able to win games when, in a way, we ain't playing as the City we know, which is such a positive to the defence in a way that nullified all those people that just used to wait and try and counter-attack them. So I think for us, especially this year, it's not too much to worry about. As long as we defend the way we have been defending this season, we'll be fine.
Go on, Shaun, sorry.
I think Rafinha is going to be key to Leeds. You know, as one of the youth coaches is a strong Leeds fan, and he's been in my ear all day trying to give me some stats about Leeds. I'm like, leave it alone. But he's saying Rafinha scored 7 goals and assisted in 8. So he's a key part of you know, what they do going forward. And we know Leeds are an energetic team. So one of the other things he was telling me is that no team has scored more points than Leeds from the 85th minute onwards. And Shaun and I were talking and saying, well, that means that the game needs to be put to bed before by that point, because for them, they have a belief that they'll get something, whether it's to get a goal, to draw the game, or to actually win it. So this gives them a belief. You know, we have this saying, we fight to the end. Well, we want to make sure the game is put to bed before the sort of 85th minute.
Which I guess is really, we can take a look at it now, this is kind of what we should have done last season. I mean, if you will remember, this was kind of the goal that did it. And frustrating, really, that kind of pass down the middle after such domination. But as you've said, really, if we scored 3 or 4 goals, that goal becomes irrelevant. But you also want to stop that at source, Shaun, don't you? It looks a bit too easy, that for me, down the middle there.
Yeah, it's a rigid, like, you have to stop it at the beginning, but these things in games are likely to happen. A team is always going to have a spell or a period in a game, and they will sometimes create chances or half chances. So you can't just say stop everything, because
that's impossible.
Everybody would love to do that. So we still have to understand that little mistakes will happen in games, and it's just a reaction after and how they deal with. Say, if I lose the ball, you've seen the boys, they sprint straight away to get it. Like, if they keep that up, it makes it harder for what just happened to happen, in my eyes.
Final word as well on the City team. Kevin De Bruyne, of course, as well. We know he's kind of had that. He had a little bit of illness, so he's still working his way back to full fitness. But he does start again today, and we know when he's firing, he'll be instrumental, I guess, in definitely utilising, I guess, Shaun, the spaces that Leeds might leave, as we do know they love to get forward, which sometimes really does play into City's hands, doesn't it?
Well, yes, Kevin De Bruyne, I mean, he has eyes in front, eyes back. I think even on the side, his passing and vision is unreal. So we know the way Leeds will play. So he's that one that if he ends up in a slightly deeper position or even wide, he has that quality of pass that will just hurt. And we know Leeds, how they like to play and go into that sort of one-on-one at times. If they're pushing players forward, mark my word, Kevin De Bruyne will find that pass that will just split and open them. So good to see him in the team. We always love him in the team because of his qualities and abilities. But interesting, when I look at Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva, again, this is more inside. You know, when they profile players, Kevin De Bruyne, they see as a number 10 along with Bernardo Silva. And number 10s are players that can also play wide. And to give you an example, say a Gundogan is a quality midfielder, but we can never really see him play wide.
Yes.
So this is sort of the inside knowledge that City are saying that 10s can play wide. But Kevin De Bruyne, I think he can play goalkeeper. He's that good a player wherever you play him. I mean, it's his passing range, and so glad to always see him in the team.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe I'm thinking I maybe should have put him in my fantasy football, because let's take a little moment to talk about this, Shaun, right? Because you mentioned him before. Rafinha, of course, the main man for them at the moment with his goals and assists and points. Raheem Sterling had been on some fine form. This was your team last week, Shaun. You can see there you've got Rafinha in there. I mean, an unbelievable week for you, sir, last week. Talk us through that.
I was basically the Tinker Man, like, over the last 3 weeks, to be honest with you. Like, I saved my transfers and let them roll over, so I didn't go in debt, basically.
Yeah, you're not minusing the points, yeah.
Yeah, so it took me a while to piece together. It's my first time ever doing fantasy football, period. So I'm learning on the way. But now I've kind of got the gist of it. As you've seen, my score there is drastically changing.
It's massive. Now tell us, have you, Cancelo, of course, there's when he's not in, so did you transfer him out this week, or have you kept him in the team?
No, I've taken him out because I need all the points I can get, but I haven't, like, transferred him. I basically just put him on the subs bench and got rid of my other fullback.
Okay,
so,
I see.
I've brought in Cucurella from Brighton, because I quite like him as a left back.
And then your team this week, who's the man you're bagging on getting you some points this week, do you think?
I think Ollie Watkins is going to be a massive one for me, because they play Norwich and he hasn't scored for 2 games, and I think Aston Villa, coming off the back of a defeat, need the 3 points. So he has to be that man now to,
step
take
up
the
to the
game
plate
by the scruff of the neck,
like
as goals would.
I'll tell you what else as well I'm thinking of now. You can probably bring up, I don't know if we're going to bring up my team. I mean, it's half the points that Shaun Wright. But honestly, I'll level with you, everyone watching. I've wanted to be playing a wild card for the last month, and the games are coming so thick and fast. I've not had the time to do it, but you'll see I've got Bruno in there, and obviously United's game aren't playing this week, and there's a chance they're going to miss the Brighton game as well. So I was in here deliberating with Shaun between Bernardo Silva and Raheem Sterling. And as my witness, behind the cameras here, Shaun told me to put in Raheem Sterling and he's on the bench. So Shaun, there's a bit of foul play that for me, isn't there?
Foul play.
How can you call it foul play? Nobody ever knows what Pep is going to do. Now, my words exactly were, Raheem Sterling is in fine form and scoring. Normally when that happens, he plays every minute of every game. If you go off the last 2 years.
Yeah.
This is a different year, so
And this is why I had to take a year sabbatical, everyone, because these are the decisions that eat me up. My dad as well is going to be loving it. We're in a family league, and he's going to be rubbing his hands when I go and join him at his seat in a little bit. But I tell you what, as well, I think if he does come on and the game is stretched, there is a chance maybe he could get a few goals.
And for me, 100%, the form he's in, the confidence he's playing with, he will either get a goal or create a goal.
Yeah.
And that's great to see him back to his probably getting towards his best.
Oh, well, I'll take that then, Shaun.
It'd be an absolute brilliant weapon to bring Sterling on, because, again, the way Leeds play, the game will be stretched and it becomes a 1-on-1. And, again, the form that Sterling's in, he affects the game. He's scoring or he's assisting, and I really love that, and the form that he's in. So, hopefully we're not needing him. And he does come on.
Yeah.
So that means the game is comfortable in terms of us winning, and he comes on and does his thing. But I have to say, 100 Premier League goals, that's ridiculous.
Especially at his age.
Yeah.
I think as well.
And you were telling me a stat as well about so many goals behind Sergio or something you were saying?
Yeah, so basically I think City can reach 500 goals over the course of 6 seasons under Pep. And Sergio has, if I remember, 82.
Yeah.
And Raheem Sterling has 76.
Wow.
So for a winger is some unbelievable stats, especially when people are talking about he went through a purple patch at the beginning of this season.
Yeah. I mean, we'll hold this because we're going to come back to that a little bit, because there's a couple of questions I want to ask on Raheem. But as you said, it really is an incredible feat from Raheem Sterling, and we'll be speaking about his 100 goals and, of course, Ederson's 100 clean sheet as well in just a little bit. Now, Leeds team news on the way, but before that, I want to talk to you about City in the community. We have launched our latest auction, and as you know, all the time with these auctions, these prizes, they're once in a lifetime, and this time it's no different. Check this out.
Make sure you bid on our walkout jackets for City in the community.
So there you go. So this auction, of course, is a little festive one as well, where all the money is going to be going back into to help mental health people in Manchester. So anyone who needs that help, that vital support, of course, struggling with mental health, which absolutely, I think we all feel at some point, and it's absolutely okay not to be okay. The funds raised here are going to be vital in supporting the work City and the community they're doing around that in Manchester. And you've seen there the prizes are the first team jackets that you'll see them come out the tunnel in. They've been signed each individually. It's that player's jacket signed by them, so you can can go on now and get bidding in that auction. I tell you what, there's a couple there I wouldn't mind getting my hands on as well. And actually, speaking of kind of jackets and dressing up, we've already had a question coming in our WhatsApp. So if you want to get in touch to us on the show, WhatsApp is the way to do it. You can also drop us a tweet as well, of course, but WhatsApp, I think we're all on it these days, so get them in and I'll put them in to our guests as the show rolls on. This one has come in from Daryl on WhatsApp, and he says, loves the top tonight, Cal. Thank you, mate. But he wants to know from you guys, who were the best and worst dressed that you remember from your time at City? Were there any standout players of the best and worst dressed? I think Sean's twinkle there says Sean's hoping that you say Shaun. Sean.
Best dressed or worst dressed?
So I wouldn't necessarily say he was the worst dressed, but there was Taribo West when he came into City. I can't remember if he signed or he was just here on trial.
Okay.
But he used to come in like a 5-3-piece suit. So he'd have on like proper like trousers, and that's just to training. Whereas all of us are in tracksuit bottoms and maybe jeans if you got lunch or a meeting after. So it was casual. He would always come in like a waistcoat, shirt, blazer.
The works, really? Yeah, the long coat.
So for me, like, I always just remember that.
I tell you what, there's something about that. I speak about this with friends, bringing the suits back. Do you remember back in the day? Do you know what I mean? You're always rocking a suit. I kind of think the's some charm in that shot.
Yeah,
would you wear? I could see you now.
I was always smart, you know. I made a suit look. He's just killed me here. He's just killed me.
Well, listen, just a final word as well, of course. So on that charity auction, speaking of best dress and jackets, it's charitystars.com/city in the community. That is the website, and it all closed on the 22nd of December, so it could be an amazing Christmas present for that City fan in your life. And as you know, those funds really do go a long way to those all-important causes. Now, listen, Andy Morrison is pitchside for us. He is joining Alistair Mann in our very popular City commentary that you can get involved with on the City app. It's a great way when you're watching the game, even if it's on TV, stick that on as well for your commentary. You have the brilliant Alistair Mann, who honestly is one of the best, and Andy Morrison is with him today. We can hear his thoughts today of what he's thinking of our game against Leeds, and the lineup is chosen by Pep.
Evening, guys. I'm here with Andy Morrison, who will be joining Ali Man later to commentate on the game on the Man City app. Now, Andy, let's get straight into the team news. Walker's ill, so we've got Stones, Laporte and Diaz. I'm going to go straight to you with the question: is it a back three or a back four?
Well, I think the only way we'll know is obviously at kick-off. I can understand the thinking behind the three, with the way that Leeds played at the weekend. They played with Rafinha and James kind of in the half spaces between full-backs and centre halves. In old words, it was wide strikers, and that might be a thought that the manager's thinking about. You know, match them up, one spare centre half, because I do think we'll dominate the ball. I do think we'll create a lot more opportunities than what they do, but the key at the moment is turning those opportunities into goals, and at the minute we're not quite firing.
Well, you know, you look at the lineup as well. You said we'll dominate the ball. We've got Zinchenko, he can play midfield, probably will be full back. Then you've got Bernardo, Rodri, De Bruyne, all these players that can hold the ball so well. Gundogan's not even starting, for instance. Yeah. So it just goes to show, I mean, the crazy depth that we've got, really. Yeah,
the depth of the squad's, it is the best, and for me, it's the best in European football, without a shadow of doubt. De Bruyne back in. I think Rodri will sit deeper, and I think Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne will be given the freedom to go and open up, Leeds. And Mahrez has always played off the right. I think he's predominantly comes inside, and then maybe Jack through the middle, and Foden on the left. I think that's the way they'll go.
Well, you mentioned Jack there. If he's playing through the middle or on the left, we shall see. But he's starting his third game in a row now, and Pep did say in the press conference this week that he's basically done everything but find the back of the net. So when that goal does come for him, hopefully it's today, that'll be a real breakthrough moment for him, won't it?
Yeah, in the Watford game he was magnificent. He caused them all sorts of problems, and he's very intelligent in his movement, which created chances. And sometimes you go through runs like that where it doesn't happen for you, and we're all wanting him to score. We all want him to do well. Everything is there in the performance apart from the end product. When that begins to come, I think we'll see the best of Jack.
Yeah, we've seen it with Bernardo and Sane and other places like in that second season. And looking at Leeds as well, you did say playing in the half spaces maybe against Chelsea, we're going to counteract that. If we do dominate the ball, then should be a good game, but how open do you think it'll be? Because that's how Leeds sort of like to play, the very expansive.
I don't think it will be open. I don't think Bielsa will come to the Etihad and think that he's going to be able to go toe-to-toe with the champions. I can't see it happening. I think they might play a little bit deeper. There'll be roles and responsibilities will be clear. They'll be picked up, man-marked. Our wide men will be man-marked wherever they go. If they come inside, they'll be tracked. What that does is it takes away any finger pointing, who's at fault for making a mistake. It's clear roles and responsibilities, but if you do step past somebody in that the way Leeds play, you will be an on goal. So big responsibility for them to keep that energy and that discipline for 90 minutes. Very, very difficult to do, especially against a team like City who move the ball so fast and are so fluent in their attack.
Yeah, well, hopefully they don't keep the discipline and we do score a few goals. So I'll leave you, Andy, with a score prediction for today.
I've got to go 3-1, and I just feel there's a goal. We're conceding a goal at the minute, and like I say, if our finishing is in relation to our opportunities created, it'll be a comfy evening. If it's not, then Leeds will ask questions of us.
Yeah, well, I'll say 5-2, and Andy is going to be commentating with Ali Man later on the Man City app, so you can follow that there. Back to you guys in the studio.
Oh, I tell you what, a 5-2 prediction there, you know, that's a bit of a rogue one, isn't it? I kind of like the sound of that, though, 5-2.
It is. I'm not going to go away 5.
Okay, you hold it, Shaun. It comes at the end of the show.
Well, I like that. I like that.
Like
Being
that
brave with that.
Let's take a look then at our Leeds team. This is chosen, of course, by Marco Bielsa, and we are facing these boys. Miser, of course, in net. We've got Firpo, Lorienti, Ayling. I know you were saying watching him the other week as well, Shaun. Shackleton, Forshaw, Dallas, of course, an ex-City player there in the form of Jack Harrison, Roberts, Rafinha, there's the man, that is the threat today, and Daniel James as well, of course, who are headed over to Leeds from Manchester United. Can take a look at their bench as well, I think, in just a second. Clayson, Drama, McCarran, Cresswell, Jenkins, Klitsch, Greenwood, Somerville, and Gelhard, or Gellard, I think. Apologies, there's always one that gets me. We've kind of singled him out already, of course, Rafinha being a main threat as well, but maybe a quick word on Jack Harrison as well, of course, an ex-Manchester City player as well, and he's actually been brilliant for them as well, of course, and that was a move that they made permanent, Shaun. But was there anyone else you'd want to single out in that Leeds team that we should be wary of today?
Well, actually, seeing Ayling, it was a few weeks ago. He was actually injured. I've seen him play against the 23s, and he was sort of bombing up and down at right. And I thought, well, there's clearly nothing wrong with him. This is obviously when he declared himself back fit and had that energy that you typically expect of him. So, you know, for me, when I saw him play that game, he looked wow, up for it, and again, he was a leader with this player, so I'm always intrigued with him because again he has energy about his game as a fullback. But the way City play, we tend to make teams play differently. But Leeds are the same. They actually do not change their game. They play open, expensive, and they make it one-on-ones all over the park. And if you're a little bit struggling on fitness, they will find you out. Yeah. They will find you out.
Ayling was actually one of those as well. I think that, start of the season, he was in my fantasy football just because of how much he got forward. I mean, said at the start of the table that they're in 16th, Shaun, on 16 points. Do you think that's a fair reflection for the way that they play? And actually, they might have been a little bit unlucky in some games to find themselves that close to the relegation zone.
I think what they found this season is, which was different from last season, is that they outrun pretty much every team they played with the quality and without the quality. I think this year, a few teams have matched that side of it where they're battling for the running stats. And I think because of that, the team with the better quality in front of goal has shown. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where they've dropped their points. But in general, the 16 points at this time of the season, I think 2 wins jumps them straight back, do you know what I mean, up to the top half, middle of the table. So for them, there's nothing really for them to worry about at the moment.
And final word with Leeds, because I think Pep was saying as well, they've actually kind of had more attempts on the goal, obviously some off target as well, than most teams that they've played. So I guess, Edison will maybe have his work cut out a little bit to make it 101 clean sheets, do you think, tonight, Shaun?
Well, listen, Leeds are they're not in the best of forms, but at the same time, they're a Premier League team. And if you come short, they'll test you. So to hear that they're getting loads of attempts, I like to think a lot of that is because of their energy. But it's good. This is rather interesting tonight because City, we heard Pep say things like players hold their positions, the ball will come to you. And Leeds are a team that play one-on-one. So if they're playing one-on-one and they're sort of following a play around, then you'd think if City are moving the ball, then there's going to be someone free as the ball moves across one side to the other. So it's rather interesting because the tactics and how the managers have them play are really different.
Yeah.
City holding positions with a discipline, but also we know how they interchange. And Leeds are like one-on-one. I'm following you to the bathroom. Like, you're my man, I'm marking you, you're not getting a touch. So it's interesting to see how Leeds manage it against City, which will make an interesting game.
Yeah.
I think the key for us tonight is the front three. I think, like Goat said, that they're going to be man marking all over the pitch, and the only way to do that is you have to be a bit cute as an attacking player. You have to beat your man.
Yeah.
If you beat your man with or without the ball, you're free. But not only does it make you free, somebody has to cover that person that you've beat. So then that frees up somebody else.
Yeah.
And then that's when the gaps will start opening up.
Is there a slight worry? I was just thinking this because, I'm so used to having Kyle Walker in the team that if they have a speedy winger, I always go, well, we've got Kyle Walker, and we saw that against PSG. But I just do look at our defenders, and fast, but not as fast as Daniel James, who I remember from when he played at Swansea, when he had that brilliant game against us. Jack Harrison as well with pace, Rafinha with pace. Is that a slight concern that maybe that we don't have a Kyle Walker there to clean up if someone breaks?
I used to think like that, but what that comes down to is distances in terms of the position that the player's in, and I'll highlight someone like Zinchenko. Zinchenko plays, and whether he plays against someone that's very rapid or whether someone is average plays with a lot of intelligence, he never seems to get done for me. I recall times even watching him when he's played against Liverpool, and I'm thinking, okay, you got a rapid play against him, and he always seems to manage to get a foot on that situation where you think, oh, they've got him now, they're running at him with pace. He gets a foot on it, makes it block, toes it out wide for a throw in, or stops the play. And that's because his position is so brilliant. And so for me, whether a player may be slightly faster than the players that are playing left back and right back, it's about their distances. So if they're in the right distance, they can apply that pressure and not allow them to turn. Or if they do get turned, that they're sort of ushering them into an area where they don't want to go, knowing that there's more support there. I'm not too worried about that. But I used to think that, like, oh, he's so much quicker than our fullback. We don't want James to be getting it. But it really comes down to the intelligence of the player.
I just wondered off that, Shaun, of course. And we're gonna bring up a little pace thing in just a second. But obviously, you know how fast you were when you played Jordan. Would you ever come up against a fullback thinking, I've got him beat for pace here, but because of that, you never really had the chance to exploit his slowness because of the positioning? Did that happen?
No, to be quite honest, I didn't actually think about anybody's pace, whether they was fast or slow. Going into the game,
That's why you're the best.
That's why. Honestly, going into the game with, like, especially the first spell, playing with like Goltz and Dickey and Ali Benabia, they always just filled me with so much confidence. It was just pretty much, doesn't matter who you come up against.
Yeah.
Just put the ball in the box. So I pretty much had no choice. Just beat my man, get the ball in the box and make something happen. And that's just the way I played. I didn't think about who was quick or who was slow. I just knew what I had to do.
Well, speaking of pace, now I don't know if you saw this, but of course in the show at the weekend against Wolves, it was Nader Manur and we had Darius Vassell joining us on Matchday Live, which was so great to see. But we're playing a little game. We're going to play our own one in just a second, but centred around pace. Now, bring up the clip. See what you think of this, Shaun, here now. This is, of course, I'm talking about they're playing a higher and lower game of pace players. Okay, so using FIFA ratings. Have a little look here.
Shaun Wright-Phillips, another fast one.
So Sterling was at 91. Were you faster or slower on FIFA, Shaun?
So slightly lower.
I'm faster than all of them there.
Vassell said lower.
I'll say lower.
Oh, it's higher.
He hater.
I would have said lower because I would have thought they don't really know Righty's pace. But that's me trying to think what they're thinking. I've done myself.
See, they're not happy with it. I can't believe it, especially Nader.
Basically, what I'm seeing
20 yards, I beat all of them.
All of them. I'd have said that.
30 yards, and I'm beating all of them.
I think there was a little challenge there for a race, though. So I mean, Vassell and
not now.
Nader. No, I mean, would you now, though? I still think you'd have him now.
No.
10 yards. 10 yards.
I'm honest. Not now. I won't be him now. And Nedum's only just retired, so that don't count.
That's true. It's a bit cheeky that
Nedum's a
from
machine
Nedum,
as
really.
well, by the way. He's like the Terminator.
He's a beast. I remember us celebrating one goal in the studio, and he came to give me like a chest bump. And, I do all right. I do still train at the gym. Chest bump me. I went flying through the studio. I've never felt strength like it.
He's a machine. There was a game at QPR, and he was running back with somebody. In that run, he's pulled his hamstring muscle, still beat the other player to the ball, kicked the ball out, and then went down and said, "You have to take me off, my hamstrings popped."
But I didn't let him go. He's the Terminator. That is genius. Well, let's play our own little game now. So this is a little game, no expense spared, of course. Taller or shorter? It's very, very simple, okay? You're going to work as a team.
Yes. I know what it is.
I've lost already, ain't I?
I mean, the final one could be Shaun Wright-Phillips or Paul Dickoff smaller, but it's very simple. This out ways you can work together. You just have to tell us and try and make it all the way to the end. Is the player taller or shorter? Okay, right? So we'll bring up here the first one. Here we go. So we're starting there, of course. The main man, Diego Maradona, 1.65 metres. Is Phil Foden taller or smaller?
Taller.
You saying taller than Maradona?
You know we're meant to work together.
Okay. Taller.
If we go out, this is on you.
If you got you'll get a bye though if it's the first one.
Me.
Okay, here we go. Taller or shorter? There we go. Well played, Shaun.
There you go.
Like
I'll see you in the finals. Rest is on you.
All right, here we go, Shaun. I mean, taller or shorter there? 1.71
Taller.
there. Taller?
Yeah.
Straight up.
Got the easy
Confident,
one.
Of course. Here we go. Taller or short? Taller by 0.4 metres. Lovely, okay. Here we go. We can see Paulo Dickoff there. He's coming, but next player, taller or shorter?
It's Al Berkovic, right?
I think so, yeah.
Sure.
Shorter.
Yeah.
Shorter.
I was gonna say
Shorter.
that. That's
Yeah.
why I had to ask.
Yeah? Shorter for Berkovic? Yeah, nice.
I'll see you in the
boys.
finals.
Okay.
Here's the Wolf.
Here's a good
The
one.
Wolf's coming up.
Paul Dickoff,
It's
is
a
he
hard one.
taller or smaller than Al Berkovic?
How big am I? I'm 5'7".
You're
right?
asking me. You're 5'4". Stood on a chair.
Right, wait, no, because Dickie is a little bit smaller than me.
I can tell you what
He's-
you
he's
are.
small- he's
You're,
small.
He's a little bit
Shaun,
smaller
I
than
can
me.
say
he's got to be shorter then.
you're 5'5".
No,
Shaun.
I'm 5'6".
You're 5'6". So
Yeah, don't take inches off of me.
I was the producer.
It's hard enough to get this tall.
I'm playing. According to Google, you're 5'5".
Hey, Google lies.
Okay. But Paul Dickoff, is we say him?
But it's on you.
No.
We're
I'm going
shorter.
with goats. Yeah, I'm going shorter.
We're going shorter.
There we
Yeah,
go. Is
we-
he shorter? Yeah! Well played.
No, I've got against you.
Oh, this is a tough one. Jesus Navas, he was small. Small but rapid.
No, see, I think he was. Don't do this yet.
Yeah.
This is just conversation.
Yeah. It's not the final answer.
Yeah.
There we go.
Right. I think it's deceiving because Navas is quite petite.
Yeah.
So I feel like he could be a little bit taller than. Well, he's taller than me, so I think he's taller than Dickie.
I was thinking that,
Yeah?
Yeah.
So-
I'm going taller.
We're going taller.
We're going to go
Yeah,
taller,
we're going
1.68 metres. Here we go.
Taller.
Jesus Navas. Hey! Come on. Come on. Okay, boys. Here we go. Alexis Sanchez.
Don't you give us tough ones.
These
They're
are
all
tough.
close.
No, it's.
Hold on, Sanchez. You know what? I seen Sanchez, right?
He's small,
he's
man.
small, you know.
I've seen him as well. He's small.
I remember seeing him at the local shop.
Say smaller than me then.
Mate,
Please just make me feel a little bit tall today.
I think he was,
Right.
I think he's
Right,
like.
well, let's go smaller then.
I'm going to go, I think smaller. He
We're
was
going to go
fine.
smaller. We're going to go smaller. Here we go. Yeah!
Come on,
Okay.
baby!
Okay. Now, final four, boys. We're getting to Zola here.
Is that Crouchy in there?
I mean, that's Crouchy. Yeah. Yeah.
That's like a trick question, that one.
We gotta get, this is the hard one, though.
This is it.
This-
Can you get there, boys?
Wait.
We get this one. We get to the finals, baby.
Wait,
We get to Wembley.
Worked with him at BT.
Think of him with your height. Like, what?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When we stood up, we was around about the same height. But everyone's the same height to me in my eyes. But
He's the same height as Dicko.
Yeah, but that's what I think. So we can. It's only smaller or taller. Isn't it?
Yeah.
But
What if it's exactly the same?
Well, I don't think they'll put that in there.
it's definitely nice. It's taller or shorter.
I'd go taller.
I'd
go taller.
I think it's deceptive, that one. I think that's a tricky one, though, you know.
We're going to go taller?
Yeah.
Taller.
Here we go. Taller. Come on, boys. I hope so. Yeah! Come on, the boys. Free to go.
Hey, the fans can do this one.
Peter Crouch. What are we saying? Taller. There we go.
Fans better get it right.
There we go.
Okay,
Okay, George Campos.
Wow.
Pulled that one out.
I got to think about that one.
He was a goalkeeper, a famous goalkeeper. So
That's why they put Crouchy in there. I see you guys.
Crouch is tall.
Crouch
though,
is
man.
tall.
I'm going smaller.
We're going to go smaller.
Yeah.
We're going smaller than Crouchy. He is smaller.
Ooh.
And now the main man.
Bring
One
it
of the
in,
goats.
baby.
Like, bring it home, boys.
Don't try and put
Bring it in, baby. Go on, baby. Bring it in.
I mean, Lionel Messi.
You think, yeah?
Hey, I'm confused.
Well, if we're looking at, I mean, you played with Berkovic, and we're looking at Navas. Is he smaller than any, Navas and Berkovic? I mean,
And Dickoff. Well, Dickoff's 168.
he's
like
he's
5'7",
small, man.
Mate.
No, he's smaller than that.
He's
Messi
small. I
is
think he's
tiny,
5'7",
mate.
and he's
I'm
5'5",
thinking
5'6".
Messi is got to be...
He's got to be about 5. He's taller than me.
Yeah?
I think so, yeah.
Do we?
I think he's taller than me personally.
So what you think?
Can we do phone a friend?
Yeah, phone a friend.
Who would you phone?
What's that?
Anyone that's buy a laptop?
Messi, what's that? How tall are you? I think shorter.
What do we get if we win this? Some free merchandise.
Get from the free merch. Right,
Yeah,
well,
we'll go smaller.
Yeah.
you're going to go smaller. Also, we've just had an update on Google as well. Google say that you're the same height as Paul Dickoff, by the way.
Yes! He's been waiting for that for years.
Okay, so we're saying Lionel Messi shorter?
Yes, shorter.
Okay, go on. With a dream lineup, we said it. We said it. There we go. Topping Nadim and Darius as well. Tell you what a game. That is a great game. That That was close. That.
Well,
I prefer that one than Cryptic City.
Hey, well, don't worry. Cryptic City's on the way, Shaun. Not before that, though. I just want to quickly talk about FIFA's Next Generation. But that was a brilliant game. Well played to you boys as well. I think you're one of the first to get all the way through with no help, just between the two. Well played. Now, if you're, fortunately, of course, if you're not at the stadium, we hope that we bring you as close as we can to the stadium. But if you've come to the ground today, you'll have noticed that some of the stands, we were giving away a certain special newspaper all about the Next Generation, which is all to do with brand new FIFA game. It's a great chance for you to get one of these limited edition players. Take a little look at this and what the old Moonies have been up to outside the ground.
EA Sports are giving you the opportunity to get your hands on a Next Generation FIFA 22 item.
All you've got to do is play FIFA 22 by the 14th of January to unlock one of the 6 Next Generation stars on FIFA 22 Ultimate Team.
Let's be real now. We all know that we want Phil Foden.
Foden, he really is a true force of nature. Absolutely sensational.
So there you go. If you fancy getting one of those into your ultimate team, and I think as the boys said there, absolutely won't mind Phil Foden, then that is your chance to do just that. And I said the Moonies because I was outside the ground earlier handing out a few of the newspapers with the Moonies, and they're absolutely loving it, I've got to say. Right, if you've just tuned in, thank you for joining Matchday Live. Kel Spellman with you today as your host, and the two Shauns in the form of Shaun Wright-Phillips and Shaun Gota guide us through as we build up to our game that's taking place just out there against Leeds. The boys are out there warming up on the pitch, and we can actually see our defenders actually down there. You've got Zinchenko, John Stones, Ruben Diaz, and of course Aymeric Laporte as well, all starting at the back. Let me as well bring you the other team news as well, as it looks like this. Along with them back four, Ederson, of course, is in goal. We've got Rodri, we've got Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo, and a forward three of Mahrez, Grealish and Foden. It's looking like on the bench as well, Zach Stefan, Nathan Ake, Raheem Sterling, Gundogan, Gabriel Jesus, Fernandinho, CJ Egan-Riley, Cole Palmer and Wilson Esbrand. And the Leeds team, I'll read that out to you just as you take it in our starting 11. It's Meisler, Shackleton, Ayling, Loriente, Firpo, Forshaw, Dallas, Rafina, Roberts, Harrison and Daniel James. Now, a couple of days ago, it was yesterday actually, we were of course confirmed to play Sporting Lisbon in the last 16. Now let's hope that none of you booked a trip to Villarreal as we almost did very, very quickly. But Sporting Lisbon is our opponent. And what did you guys think of that draw when you did see it? Not the first one, the second one.
Yeah, I was pleased. Again, you hear that we're well versed with them in terms of understanding what they're about. We'll go and play our normal game, but I think it's a very similar draw to the first one that wasn't legal. So Sporting is a good draw for us. We're pleased with it and we look forward to it.
Because there's like connection with the club as well, but also as well there was a great clip I think we put up on our channels. Of course, of Ruben Diaz has come up against them before, knows him very well from his time in Portugal. Does that help, Shaun? When you have had one of the players maybe come from abroad who has played in the league and knows the team, I guess, better than some of our players will do.
Yeah, it'll most definitely help. But I think, like Goat said, I think we're always going to play the City way. It wouldn't change, and I feel like most of the teams in that final 16, we were one of the teams that teams want to actually avoid. Mm-hmm. So I think right now City are in the driving seat, as a lot of all the English clubs are. Everyone's scared of the English clubs at the minute, and that's just the way it's going to be. So I think City just go there, stick to the way they play, and I think they'll just do just fine.
Absolutely brilliant. Of course, that's our last 16 tie. And of course, we'll be hoping we plough on through and make it back to the final and put right what we couldn't do last season. Now, let's also look back to our game at the weekend. Now, we mentioned it at the top of the show. It was a game for breaking some records, which this team seemed to do on a consistent basis. It, of course, was Ederson's 100th clean sheet and 100th Premier League goal for Raheem Sterling. Before we get to Raheem, for Ederson, that is quite the feat. Again, it feels like in quite a short time, really, 100 clean sheets for Manchester City. Quite the feat, Shaun.
Yes, it is, and an absolutely amazing keeper. He's so good with his feet that we actually forget about the fact that he keeps clean sheets, and it isn't just about his distribution as a goalkeeper, but actually being a goalkeeper and making himself big and being athletic so that when the ball's slightly out of reach, he's able to get fingers to it and tip it around the bar or over the bar. I just love him because he's evolved goalkeeper. He's got that part of goalkeeping that you want and you need, which is stopping shots, being brave, but also is like the complete goalkeeper. He's got assists in him, he's got passes in him, and you just think, I'd love to see him play in midfield. But I love the fact that he's reached this because it highlights what a great goalkeeper he is.
Do you think as well, though, there's also that element of him that as we know with City, sometimes he has very, very little to do in the game. And actually, the game against Wolves was case in point, hardly did anything. And come the 93rd minute or second, I think, the fingertips. How difficult is it to keep that concentration when you've had nothing to do, Shaun?
That's kind of where I take my hat off to him and applaud the 100 clean sheets even more, because concentration, especially as a goalkeeper, as like you said, when you're not doing nothing for probably 85 minutes of the game, is so hard. It's hard enough sometimes for players that are always involved in a game, but for a keeper to switch on just when you need to is tough work, and his concentration always seems to be at like 100% when it's needed, and it's a fantastic achievement to him, so congratulations.
Really, really is, and I think one of the greatest signings in Cheeky's era as well. I mean, to come from Benfica as well, another man who'll know Sporting Lisbon, all the love and admiration to Ederson. And by the way, I've been watching it this week, the Ederson documentary that is over on City Plus. It's in 3 parts as well, and it's really well done because you kind of get the whole life of Ederson, well worth you watching. And And what a career that man has had, and also what a man he is, and he's very happy here as well, you'll be pleased to know. So do go check that out, City Plus. And of course, the other record, mentioned at the start of the show, 100 Premier League goals for Raheem Sterling. Shaun, just for those who kind of, we know it's good, but how good actually is it to have done it at his age and as quickly as he has in the Premier League?
It's massive. If you say he's going to be in 6 years still in the Premier League, the way he's gone the last 6 years, if he keeps that up, he could take it to 200 goals, which that club doesn't even exist yet. So that shows you how well he's done in such a short space of time, to a point where he can create his own club. Do you know what I mean? So it's fantastic to see, and he just keeps scoring. He scores goals from outside the box, he scores goals inside the box, and he scores penalties. So for me, for a player that is a winger, he's got an all-round collection of goals as if he was a striker, and it's a fantastic testament to him.
Yeah, I have to speak very highly of Raheem Sterling, and when we look at these clips, what you'll find is Raheem Sterling is actually inside the post, and this is something that is taught to, Pep coming in and giving him that knowledge and understanding that, yes, you're a wide player, but I want you inside the post. So when balls are being crossed from the opposite side, can you get inside that far post? So when you look at those clips there, he's just level with that post, maybe a yard just outside it, but that's so that he can just come in on the far post and tap these balls in. I mean, he probably gets about 9 goals a season on the far post. And this is one of his strengths. One of the other strengths he has is his ability to run that in to outrun, meaning he runs inward and then along the defensive line and then runs in behind. I mean, his timing of these runs is so, impactful. And when you got players like us that can find those passes, this gives him those opportunities. So, I couldn't speak highly enough to finish off to score this number of goals is absolutely brilliant by him, and well done, Raheem Sterling. Yeah,
and as well, I think just a quick word as well, you even see on the assist there, and it's the goals, but actually I think people forget his goal involvement that he has throughout the season, goals and assists. He's all more or less doing something every game that he plays in. There's just that thing, why do you think sometimes outside of the club is there that thing of maybe isn't given that full recognition? Because as you say, when you break it down there, it's an unbelievable feat.
That's just people away from football. There's always something they want to say, or if someone's doing well and maybe goes through a little bad spell, anything to try and bring that person down. And that's why I always say to people, especially for kids out there, Raheem Sterling's a massive person to look up to as a role model as a kid, because of the stuff that he not only does on the pitch, but the stuff he's gone through away from the game and still managed to be that person that's just lovable and just loves football and just wants to help people. He's a great role model for kids.
He really, really is.
For me, it's just noise, and actually it'll motivate him, because he'll say, yeah, I'm going to just shut them up. Perhaps they're not speaking of me or recognizing the things I'm doing, outside of the club. Well, I'm going to score some goals against your team, and you are going to recognize me. So it's just noise. I think he just used it as a motivation for himself.
Absolutely, and hopefully he'll be coming on and scoring me a few fantasy points, Shaun, this evening, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
I want him to come on, but I don't want him to get you any points.
All right, I'm going to bring you questions on the WhatsApp, but just a quick note to say as well, the WSL. Now, if you've not seen it, by the way, Georgia Stanway's long-range hit, Shaun, we were watching it before. I mean, it is unreal. Honestly. I think we're going to be able to bring it up in just a second, but just before we bring it up, I can tell you that on Sunday you can actually watch their next game on City Plus, and hopefully you're going to be treated to more goals like this. Therefore, lads, you can talk us through it, but how sweet is this? Ready?
Oh, wow. I'll let Shaun talk about the girl, but what I like as well is each one of these girls that receive the ball, the ladies that receive the ball, they receive it on their back foot. It allows them to face forward. And this is what allows them to, as they're progressing the ball, moving it forward, they can see those passes. And they strike, Shaun. I never hit anything that clean.
Sure, that has got to be one of the cleanest strikes, hasn't it?
It's the thing for me is, it's like God said, the back foot's massive, but the way her body looks, when I first saw it, I thought she took that with her left foot. Yeah. But when you see it again, you can actually see it's almost like she knuckles it from where she is.
Yeah.
And it's such a hard technique on the opposite side of the box. It's easier if she was on basically the right-hand side. So it just shows how talented she is.
That is Georgia Stanway there with the screamer against our win against Birmingham, which was a great game, and you can watch our next game on City Plus, which is well worth your watch. All right, gents, a couple of questions before we get your reports. And if you're wondering what's going on at the stadium, we do this now before some home games. It's an incredible light show that gets put on. There was an epic one before the PSG game we saw, but it's absolutely epic what's going on behind us, and you can get a feel for it behind us there as well. But honestly, looking at it's great. But gents, questions from for a few people on WhatsApp. This one coming in from Dave for the go. Which City keeper was the hardest to beat in training?
Peter Schmeichel.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. Nicky was brilliant.
Weaves ain't going to be happy about that.
Yeah. But I think if I was in a fight, I don't want to fight Peter either.
This one came in from Jordan in Cork in Ireland, who says, question for Shaun Wright-Phillips. If you were to play in a Pep team now, would you fancy playing the false nine role? And if so, how many goals do you think you'd get?
20 plus.
20
plus, baby.
Come on. You'd be on those Raheem stats, wouldn't you? That's where you'd be.
I'll be trying to keep up with him, yeah, most definitely.
I tell you what, I'd love to have seen, you in a Pep team, Shaun. That would have been delightful. This is either for both of you. Ayol Berkovic and Ali Benarbia, do you think they would be good in this current City side? Two great players. That's
100%. They would have slotted straight in, especially Ayol Berkovic, because he's a 1-2 touch man anyway. He didn't really like to hold the ball for any longer than that.
No.
Two quality players for two different reasons for me. If I was struggling with confidence, I would give you that short 10-yard pass, move to the side, so you could just reel it back to him. And just having that touch, keeping you in the game, brought your confidence up. Ali was a player that will find me, even though I didn't know where he was, and it would just be me and the keeper. Ali Benarbia's vision to put you through on goal was unreal. So for two different reasons, two quality players, but they, for me, could play in this team.
Amazing.
They just transformed the way we played, and it was just beautiful to play.
The only thing I'd say though is I don't know if they'll be happy with the press.
Yeah.
They didn't want to press back there.
Genius. Well, listen, get some more questions in because we're going to be back at half time, then we're back at full time, of course, as well, talking about the game that's about to take place outside of there. Dave, I've got your question. It's top of my list to put to Shaun at half time, so do come back. As we head over to Alistair Mann, who's got your commentary on the City app, quick predictions from you, gents.
I think Andy had said 3-1. I'm going to go 3-1. I think City 3-1, yeah.
Sure, definitely going for an Ederson clean sheet. So lovely. I'm going 2-0.
2-0, nice. All right, gentlemen, absolute pleasure and joy as always. Thank you to you for watching as well. Alistair Mann's got your commentary on the City app, and I'll see you at half time. Come on, City.